The strange thing about intelligence is that it can quietly turn against us. The sharper the mind, the easier it becomes to justify decisions that feel logical in the moment, but echo with consequences years later. Wealth does not disappear in dramatic explosions. It erodes silently, one reasonable choice at a time. And the people who fall into these traps are not reckless. They are disciplined, educated, strategic. They read the books. They listen to the podcasts. They know the rules. And still, they get it wrong. Tonight, we step into the subtle financial mistakes smart people make, the kind that don't look like mistakes at all until it's too late. We're starting with number 5. The overconfidence illusion. Intelligence creates pattern recognition. It builds a track record of being right. In school, in career decisions, in negotiations, being right becomes familiar. And familiarity breeds certainty. When smart people begin investing or managing money, that certainty follows them. They trust their research. They trust their instincts. They trust their ability to figure it out. At first, it works. A few well-timed stock picks. A property that appreciates faster than expected. A business decision that multiplies income. The early wins reinforce the belief that they see what others don't. But markets are indifferent to IQ. Economic cycles do not reward cleverness consistently. Overconfidence slowly morphs into concentration. Too much capital in one sector. Too much faith in one thesis. Too much belief that risk is manageable because I've analyzed it. The data begins to contradict the narrative, but ego whispers that the market is wrong. And by the time reality becomes undeniable, the loss is no longer theoretical. It is personal. Smart people often fall not because they lack knowledge, but because they underestimate uncertainty. Number 4 is lifestyle acceleration, disguised as progress. The promotion arrives. The income doubles. The environment changes. And suddenly, restraint feels unnecessary. After all, the math works. The higher rent is affordable. The luxury car payment fits within the new salary. The upgraded neighborhood feels like a reward, earned through discipline. There is nothing irrational about upgrading life in proportion to success. The mistake is not spending more. It is anchoring identity to that new level of spending. Fixed expenses quietly harden. Obligations multiply. A larger home demands larger maintenance. A more visible lifestyle demands consistency. The margin that once created freedom begins to shrink. Income growth plateaus, as it inevitably does. But the lifestyle does not easily contract. Smart people convince themselves that higher income will always outpace higher spending because it has so far. They optimize for comfort instead of resilience. And resilience, once lost, is expensive to rebuild. Number 3 is mistaking complexity for superiority. There is something seductive about sophisticated strategies, layered tax structures, advanced derivative trades, real estate syndications stacked on leverage. The language alone feels empowering. Complexity gives the illusion of control. It feels advanced, exclusive, intelligent, but simple systems often outperform complicated ones over time. Broad diversification, consistent contributions, patience. These lack glamour. They do not impress at dinner parties. So smart individuals gravitate toward intricate strategies that demand constant oversight. They believe effort must correlate with reward. The more complicated the approach, the more justified the outcome will feel. Yet complexity increases fragility. More moving parts mean more failure points, more assumptions, more variables outside personal control. And when conditions shift, complicated systems unravel faster than simple ones. Intelligence seeks elegance, but ego sometimes prefers sophistication. Number 2 is delaying action in pursuit of optimization. Smart people love efficiency. They analyze, they compare, they build spreadsheets, they calculate opportunity cost down to decimal points. When an investment opportunity appears, they study it thoroughly. When considering starting a business, they model every scenario. When planning retirement contributions, they research tax implications across decades. Analysis feels productive. It feels responsible. But there is a subtle line between preparation and paralysis. The perfect entry point rarely arrives. The ideal market condition rarely exists. And time, the most powerful financial multiplier, does not wait for perfect certainty. Years pass in cautious evaluation. Money remains in low-yield accounts because a better opportunity might appear. Ideas remain unexecuted because refinement feels safer than risk. The tragedy is not dramatic loss. It is quiet stagnation. Compounding rewards action more than precision. And optimization, when stretched too far, becomes a sophisticated form of fear. Now we approach number 1. Before we step into it, pause for a moment. If you find yourself recognizing pieces of your own thinking in these stories, if this exploration into the psychology of money is resonating with you, take a second to let us know in the comments. And if you're drawn to deep, unsettling reflections on wealth, risk, and human behavior, consider liking this video and subscribing to Deeper 5. There is something powerful about confronting these truths together. Because number 1 is not about tactics. It is about identity. The most dangerous money mistake smart people make is believing that intelligence alone guarantees financial wisdom. Success in academics or career often builds a quiet narrative. I am competent. I solve problems. I outperform. That narrative becomes intertwined with self-worth. When financial decisions are tied to identity, mistakes become threatening. Losses feel like proof of inadequacy. So instead of adapting quickly, smart individuals defend their decisions. They double down on failing investments to avoid admitting error. They hold on to underperforming assets because selling would mean acknowledging misjudgment. They resist basic financial advice because accepting it would imply they didn't already know. Ego subtly replaces objectivity, and wealth building requires brutal objectivity. It demands the ability to say, "I was wrong," without flinching. It requires separating intelligence from outcome. The market does not care how smart you are. Debt does not negotiate based on your resume. Compounding does not accelerate because of past achievements. Financial success is less about brilliance and more about humility. The willingness to remain a student, the discipline to follow boring systems, the courage to admit mistakes quickly. When intelligence becomes identity, it resists correction, and resistance is expensive. Over decades, this quiet attachment to being right erodes returns more effectively than volatility ever could. Because markets recover, economies adapt, but an ego that refuses to learn calcifies. The irony is unsettling. The very trait that creates opportunity, intelligence, can also create blind spots. Smart people often believe they are insulated from common mistakes. And that belief is the opening through which those mistakes enter. Wealth is not a reward for being clever. It is a reward for being consistent. It favors patience over prediction, systems over impulses, humility over certainty. And perhaps that is the deeper lesson hidden beneath every financial misstep we've explored. Money magnifies character. It amplifies habits. It exposes fears. It reveals whether decisions are driven by logic or by the quiet need to prove something. Intelligence can build wealth, but only if it is paired with restraint, with skepticism of one's own certainty, with the discipline to choose simplicity when complexity flatters the ego. In the end, the greatest financial advantage is not a higher IQ. It is the ability to remain adaptable, to detach identity from outcome, to let go of being right in order to become wealthy. Because the market rewards those who survive long enough to compound. And survival, more than brilliance, is the true measure of financial wisdom. As the years pass and balances rise or fall, the question lingers in the background of every decision. Are you trying to prove that you are smart, or are you trying to build something that lasts? The difference is subtle, but over a lifetime, it changes everything.